Welcome to our fourth episode of Spark, where we're bringing you inspirational insights from the people at the heart of luxury. Speaking of luxury, we're here today at the Corinthia Hotel, joined by our guests, world-famous interior designer Laura Hammett, Chief Creative Officer of Aston Martin Lagonda, Marek Reichman, and Hotel Manager at the Corinthia London Hotel, Joachim Meyerink. Marek, Laura and Joachim, you all come from the world of luxury, and since this episode is all about luxury, I want to ask each of you, what does luxury mean to you?
Well, I like this question because I think the word luxury is so overused these days, and I think actually it's so much more to me than the way that something looks, that kind of glamour that you expect from that word. I often describe to clients that you often shouldn't kind of almost notice the design or the function of something. It should just be effortless. So the comfort of a sofa, the way that the depth is, all of those factors are so far beyond the way that something looks. And I think often it's just about quality of craftsmanship and real thoughtful design that functions beautifully and seamlessly, so that you walk into a room, the temperature's perfect, the sound quality, the light levels, everything is just seamless, and you almost don't notice how kind of well thought through everything is, but it just is.
Yeah, I mean, I think interior design plays an immense part as part of a wider. I think as part of the wider picture, it plays an immense part, because of course people come here. Of course, their bed needs to be the most comfortable bed they ever slept in. No, and the shower needs to be the most powerful rain shower that they've ever had. But by giving that to them, you're only meeting expectations. So if you ask what is true luxury, I think often it's something that you didn't ask for. So you didn't ask for it, you didn't actually even know that you needed it, but once you have received it, you never want to live without it again. Yeah. So I think that is really the element of just going a little bit further than just providing premium products.
I mean, firstly, I can't disagree with anything that's been said. So it's rarity, it's something special, it's a nuance that you don't expect exactly, it's honesty. I mean, luxury for me is it touches so many pointers, but everything has to be right. Everything has to be memorable. Everything has to be a memorable story that you want to tell someone. The best cup of coffee I ever had was here because. That's just a cup of coffee. But that for me would be luxurious, ultra luxury. An Aston Martin is rare. There are X many of them. They are rare, therefore they sit in a very, very different place, and it's an experience that you want and you desire again and again and again, because it's simply the best experience.
So one question I've been dying to ask Marek and Laura. Aston Martin design fabulous cars, and Laura, you design stunning residences, and in fact you've indeed designed a 20-seater jet. Is there any correlation between the two designs?
I would say yes. I mean, I'm not personally a kind of car enthusiast, but my husband, who's my co-director, is very passionate about cars and product design, and he's got much more interest in that kind of sector of the industry. And I would say quite a lot of our influence when we're looking at detailing, whether it's joinery, furniture design, can come from car design. And I think we did a really fascinating project a few years ago. We designed a private jet for a client we'd done 7 projects for, and he'd gone to a yacht and jet company, and said that he wanted more of our kind of residential influence, and we knew him, and we were definitely influenced on that project by car design, I think, in terms of kind of leather stitching detailing and finish combinations and colour combinations. I'm always really passionate about the kind of textural change and colour palettes that are used inside real kind of beautiful cars. So I think there is an overlap.
If you think about an interior, the interior of a car, the interior of a house, the interior of a hotel, I mean, it's an environment. Ultimately, as a designer, you're creating an environment for someone. You spend X percentage of your time in your home, in a hotel, if you buy a car, you fall in love with the outside, but you spend 99% of the time with the car on the inside. Comfort levels, materials, texture, smell. You know, we have real leather interiors. You know, we use a Scottish manufacturer called Bridge of Weir, and it's an incredible feeling as you get into the car. If you're on a sofa, you may have a leather sofa at home. You know, the materials are very, very similar. Lighting levels now, technology levels, comfort levels, what you touch, what you feel, how the stitch, etc. There's so many similarities between what you have in your home and what you have in your car. If you actually analyze them, there are so many touch points that are the same. Woods, as a for instance, you know, we have real machined from solid woods in our DBX. So they're not veneers, they're actual pieces of wood that are machined from solid, and you can smell the wood.
I also think, I mean, my husband Aaron is by trade, he's a product designer. So he has a very strong kind of view that everything essentially is a product. You know, a home, a hotel, it's all just a product at a different scale. So I think those same design principles could be applied to really anything. And I think that's how we approached our jet design was, you know, the client came to us and said, can you do this? And we said, we haven't done it before, but yes, we can, because, you know, the same processes go through.
And I think really important what you said, the process of design. So when you start as a designer, you know, it's quite generic. Then you break off into the fields that you specialize in, but the principles of designing or being an architect, interior designer, car designer, and we split the team inside and outside designers as well. So there are interior specific car designers that have an amazing capability to try and visualize the inside of a car space for humans without it existing. And it's a fascinating ability to actually see materials and sense an environment when it doesn't exist. So the crossover, it's absolutely there.
So Laura and Marek, I'd love to hear about where you both take your design inspiration from.
I mean, I would say everywhere. Everything has the potential to be inspiring. I'm sure you're going to say the same thing. Hotels, restaurants, you know, I love set design. I'm very tedious to go out for dinner with because I photograph every little detail I see. I just think, yeah, if you're kind of open to it, there's inspiration everywhere. I'm really passionate about an interior having a, you know, we've said the word experience. I think that's so key, and a feeling. And it's so much more than the way that it looks and the way that it photographs. It's the way that it makes you feel when you walk into the space. And I think quite often that can be an inspiration in itself, and you can get that from being in multiple different environments, and it's trying to really kind of hone down what is it that creates that experience. Is it the lighting? Is it the materiality? You know, is it the natural light that comes in? So I think literally inspiration is all around us all the time.
Hardest period of time for me was through COVID, where we couldn't travel, because I think culture, travel, the different senses, the different light levels you get as you travel around the globe really make things look completely different. And the sunlight in California versus the sunlight in India is completely different versus here, as a for instance. And even materials can look different in those different conditions. I always describe a creative's brain, as a sieve. So you have to put lots of things in it, and you shake it, and you get all the really good things out, all the other things that are different to the good things that come out, but you've got to fill it with things. And if you don't fill it with things, nothing comes out. So you have to provide inspiration in some way. And I think designers are the worst people to go to dinner with, because we're looking at the tablecloth underneath. Where was that made? Look at that stitch there.
They try a hospitality professional. I think we're borderline. It's probably the same.
You are.
So the three of us can go for a nice dinner. Yeah.
You're fascinated by everything around you, and I think that it's curiosity. At the end of the day, you have to be curious. I wanted to become a designer because I wanted to understand how things were made. How on earth was that object made? And I went into the discovery of why, and that journey is wonderful. So.
Marek, you dreamed of designing Aston Martins since you were 12. Laura, what did you dream of when you were 12?
From a really young age, I had a real, I'd say, obsession with my bedroom, and I think a lot of kids do, but I think I probably took it to a different level. And I think my mum at one point just got so tired of assisting me with the different kind of revamps that I was doing that she just said, right, whatever you do, just do it on your own. And I have a memory of, with my own pocket money, getting the bus. We used to live in near Wandsworth Bridge, getting a bus over the bridge to B&Q and buying all these heavy pots of paint, and I think it was pink, I mean fuchsia pink, something dreadful, and lugging them back. And this is what I did on my weekends. I knew how important an environment was, an interior environment was, how much it changes the way you feel. I knew that, I think, from a really young age. But I really honestly think it took me until my foundation course, I did Chelsea College of Art, for me to actually put two and two together and realise that interior design was a career choice. And then I just thought that's so obvious to me that that's the route that I'd want to take. I was very artistic. I loved painting and art, obviously, but I knew I didn't want to go down the same road as my mum. So design, furniture design, it fell into place. I think I was only ever going to do that.
So Joachim, how long have you been in the luxury hotel market, and has it always been a passion?
I think when I was a child, I noticed, I think at a very young age, that I took great joy in, trying to be like the perfect host. So I took a lot, I really enjoyed that, just to make sure that everything was, done to perfection. Like almost an obsessive eye for detail. I mean, Laura mentioned obsession earlier. I think that's a beautiful word. Like if you have the right dose of it, I think it's something that you actually need to achieve something. And obviously, when I noticed that actually I took a lot of joy in making other people feel better, and that was almost as rewarding as looking after yourself is that looking after others. And then my first real job was when I had to do a one-year placement, and I went to Paris. And in Paris, I worked for a gorgeous hotel. It's called Lutetia. It's beautiful. When you're there, you should visit. And that was about, I think that's now like 16 years ago. So. And from the moment that I started in the Lutetia Hotel and I immersed myself in that kind of environment, I think pretty quickly I was very sure that this would be an environment in which I wanted to spend a lot of my life.
So Marek, just turning the attention to you for a moment, you've got quite some list of accolades during your career, including the design of the Rolls-Royce Phantom and your 17 years at Aston Martin, designing over 30 cars. What drew you to the automotive world, and more specifically, the design?
Yeah, thank you for the accolades. I mean, it's been an amazing career from my perspective as a designer, and I wanted to be a designer. I wanted to be in the arts. I knew from a very early age I had a talent. I can draw. I have a talent for drawing, and I wanted to continue that. But I felt I wanted to be a commercial artist. My father was a blacksmith, so there was a little bit of a conflict of, are you going to go to art school and draw things, or are you going to actually make something like I do, and because I do something. And so there was always support, and I was fascinated. I grew up in Sheffield, and I was fascinated by the manufacturing of things. I couldn't help but become a car designer because my father and my brother, they're both car nuts. And it was inevitable. I'm the youngest son, so it's like, you know what, I'm going to be a car designer because I can draw, I want to be a designer, you're going to end up being a car designer. And I guess I can't stop. I could never stop. I can't resist it. I can't resist thinking, what if we did that? What if you did this? Why should we do it that way? Can't we think about doing it this way? And actually, when you have a brand, you have a little bit of a barrier that stops you going outside of that, because the brand has an ethos. The brand has a limit or a boundary, if you like. Limit's the wrong word. And I guess the great thing for me now is that after 17 years, I've set a lot of those boundaries. I've set a lot of the tonality of how the brand can stretch, grow, what it can be, but protecting what it stands for. And that's what I enjoy as well. I enjoy creating something that has a meaning, that is understood. And in many ways, you become part of a culture. There is a culture around automotive. People fall in love with their cars. They fall in love with their homes. don't necessarily fall in love with a lot of other things in their lives, and it's just great to be part of the culture of you're creating something that someone will say, oh my goodness, I love this.
It's a passion.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the word. I can't stop because I'm passionate about it.